Hey, Family Seekers, Brian Wesley Father here, coming to see you again. We're in the new course today. Yes.
Yay.
Course 6. It's the secret. Um, my wife has this title, but I'm going to change it. She has the secret to dad and mom teamwork, which is right, but I'm going to call it the secret to parenting in partnership. So we go all British, pip pip, and all that right. So we're going to be talking today.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun with this. So we're going to talk about partnering in your parenting. Because it's important to do that, because there's different ways that people do things. There's a dad way and there's a mom way. So I'm going to let Leslie start with the mom way, and then dads, I'm going to rescue you in just a little bit, kind of, maybe. We'll see.
Okay. So, there is a mom way of doing things. Brian and I found early on that I had in my thought processes the way I thought everything should work with our children. He thought usually the opposite way. I mean, he thought the guy way and I thought the girl way. I don't know. But there's just two different ways. There's two different ways. You're trying to raise children and you are going off what you have been raised in. You're going off what maybe you've read about. And you just have some natural instincts that you follow, but there is always two different ways to do it. Especially when they're real little and they can't talk or they can't communicate with you necessarily what they need, you have to kind of go on your instinct, what you think that child is needing at that moment to help them to be content. And so I always had my way of doing things. And I would get ready to go out or be gone from the house, and I was going to leave Brian with the kids. I trusted him with the kids. I did. I trusted him with the kids, but I knew that he wasn't going to do everything for them the way I wanted it done for them. So you have to learn to relax and allow the other part of your team to be themselves and accomplish the goals with your children. Because the important thing is that they survive and that everybody's happy in the end, and so keep the end goal in mind, and don't be so distressed about the details of how he's doing it or how she's doing it. Might go the other way, but
because there's always, pardon me for interrupting, there's always a strong personality trait with one or the other, husband or wife, that feels like they're the ones that should be dictating the way things are done.
Yes.
And so that causes conflict in a lot of marriages, be it how the toothpaste is done, the toilet paper is done, or how the children is raised. The first two don't really matter. The third one does. So, so you have to be aware of that and know that your way and their way are not necessarily polar opposites and wrong.
Right.
It goes back to kind of personalities we talked about in another course. You have different personality types. So, my personality would do something a different way than what Leslie's personality would do. And that doesn't make it right or wrong, just makes it different.
Right.
And so it might be that way, mom way. And here's the other thing. Children respond differently to the different parents.
That's true.
And so even though you have, like Leslie said, that she had a way in her mind that she had already preconceived and perceived, this is how this is going to go. Well, with some of the children, that was fine. We have one child that he came out saying please and thank you. We had another one who came out saying, what do you mean? And so, that preconceived notion, that pre-thought out idea of this is the way it's going to go, was challenged by several of our children. And so, they respond differently to different ones of they respond, I can think of coming home from work. I youth pastored and worked full time, and I came home one day and we only had the one child. It was our oldest child. And I walked in the door, and Leslie met me at the door with said child in hands like this. And she hands her to me, and she says, she's acted like you all day long. I'm leaving for a little bit. I was just hoping she was coming back. But I said, okay. So she hands me the baby, and she leaves. She's fuming. She's had a bad day with our child. So I go in, whip up something to eat. She and I hang out, we eat, we're watching some kids shows because, I'm a big kid at heart. So I'm playing on the floor watching TV with her. We had zero issues whatsoever. And then when Leslie comes back, she's expecting for her and I to be fighting and arguing, and we're just sitting, we're cahoots. And made her night not any better. Because she's like, hold it, I put up with all this stuff, and then you come in and So don't get frustrated with that process. And understand your strengths and weaknesses as a couple, because this is a partnership. It's a lifelong partnership. It's a lifelong journey in parenting. Because parenting doesn't stop when they leave your home. It adjusts, it changes, and we'll talk about that in a whole different course. But it never stops. You're always going to be mom and dad. You're always going to be someone that has an input into life. The way you input changes over time. Even when they're in your home, it inputs from age to age to age.
Sure.
But there's different ways of doing that, and we partner together. And here's the thing. You have to remember this. You're a team.
Yes.
You work together. And so we have to work together to be a team to raise our children. And we have to come up with strategies, plans, and ideas to do those things. Now, those strategies, plans, and ideas should be on the same page.
Right.
The application of them can be different.
Right.
But the plan should be the same. So we want to encourage each other, encourage one another to work as a team.
Sure.
And we want to get along. I've played sports all through college, and I've had teammates I didn't like. I like this one. But I've had teammates I didn't like, and I've had teammates who I just adored. But either way, they were my teammates. And so I had to learn to work with them to accomplish a common goal. Right. In that case, it would be to win a sporting event, right? So if you want to win at life, you got to learn to teamwork with your spouse. If you refuse to do so, or if you fight constantly, then all you're doing is modeling to your children a way not to do this.
Right.
And we're talking about creating unbreakable families and unbreakable marriages. So you have to work together in the marriage part to build the child part. But just because she thinks that you should sing a song while you're brushing the teeth, and I'm standing going, just brush your stinking teeth. It doesn't mean she's right and I'm wrong. It just means she's nicer than me. See that? How quickly that yes came.
Yes.
But it's a different personality. It's a different approach, and sometimes, and we were talking about this before we came on here to record this video. Sometimes you may be working your approach to your child, and it's not working.
Yeah.
You ever been there? Raise your hand.
Yep.
See, I have been there. I have been there. I've been the one who was frustrated, like ready to kill that little munchkin. And then here's what's hard. Then your spouse, in my case, Leslie, comes in and says, "Hey, you might try it," and I give her the go to heaven look, and I'm like, I am doing this. And get out of my face, and you have to learn to be flexible even in the moment of frustration,
Right.
to take on a different approach potentially.
Yes. You have to be willing to work for the good of the child, not just to be right. And so some people have more problem with that than others, but
Yeah, you do.
Depends on your personality, but the child is the most important thing at that point, where you're trying to get them to be in a place where they're okay. And so if your approach isn't working, be willing to try something else. And when you offer an alternative approach, be sure that you're kind about it, and you're not just demanding, or you're not being nasty about it. You just you might say very gently that maybe try this. This might work better. I can't help you right now, but if you try this might work. Just something that is able to be an encouraging way to say it, rather than a demanding way.
Yeah, don't come in and go, "Hey, you get this wrong. Fix it."
Yes, exactly.
That won't work.
Right. Don't do that. Encourage one another in your parenting. I know that there are times, especially when they're real little and they're going through the phases of newborn up through like toddler, especially, they all have times where they like mom better or they like dad better, and you have to kind of know where you're at with that, and then as a team you have to work with that so that you can make it go as smoothly as possible. The goal is to get baby taken care of, to make sure they feel secure and to feel confident and loved and everything. And so if dad isn't the person for them right then try to let dad do some of the other things that need to be done so that mom can be with the baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or other way around. Sometimes it works the other way around. We had time periods where my kids loved Brian, and if I was trying to do something for him, they would be upset with me. But he's just a calming force, and he's a big teddy bear, and so they all loved him. They wanted to fall asleep on him. And so I could work for hours to try to get him to sleep, but he would pick him up and they'd cuddle up on him, and that was the end of
Yeah.
it. So you just know where you're at
Yeah.
in the seasons
Yeah.
of their life, and
Yeah.
and then work together to make that happen.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And the big thing is to encourage one another
Yes.
and help each other,
Yes.
especially in the moments when it's frustrating,
Mhm.
when the child won't stop crying,
Mhm.
when the child won't stop disobeying.
Mhm.
Different
Yeah.
seasons of life when they're doing different things, when
Mhm.
they're rebelling and acting out, and you're
Yeah.
ready to not just spank them or yell at them, you're ready to take them out and make another one.
Right.
It's be encouraging to one another, to work with one another, and remember this whole process. You're working in partnership
Mhm.
while the two of you
Right.
are training your child in the way that
Mhm.
they should go.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that more a little bit later.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but we want to encourage you first, as mom and dad,
Mhm.
to work as a team. Now,
Yeah.
the second point we want to make today is talking about, even as you're working as a team for that child, don't forget you as a couple,
Right.
because that's just as important for them as it is for you.
Right.
Because if they end up not having both of you in their life, then that makes it harder. Not impossible, but harder,
Mhm.
much harder. I've seen blended families, I've seen single parent families, I've seen multiple parent families where
Mhm.
they have 4 and 5 and 20 parents. And then it brings some, unless that's done well, it can bring a lot of confusion to that child. So you really want to work as husband and wife, as mom and dad,
Mhm.
the ones who brought that child into this world. You want to work together as a team
Mhm.
to raise them, but you also need to spend time for each other.
Yeah.
So you need to start taking time away from the kids, even when they're little,
Yeah.
and start them when they're young, when
Mhm.
they're really little.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not talking like we bring the baby home, Grandma, come watch him. I'm not talking about
not quite
that.
that soon.
No, but we're pretty quickly. And so, as part of the training process, you want to work with them and teach them how to respond to mom and dad not being in their space all the time. Go ahead.
Right. I know when each of our children were born, I nursed the babies and they were dependent on me.
Right.
But as soon as I could get them to the point where they would take a bottle for someone else,
Mhm.
then we would make sure that we planned just like an hour or two away from baby. We would let my mom watch, each of our children, or sometimes my sister would be auntie and she would take care of the babies. But they would just be with someone else besides the two of us. And that was really important because they'd learned that, okay, people are caring for me, and I'm okay. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always go well. I mean, my sister and my mom will tell you about our second daughter who screamed at them the entire time we were gone. And we weren't gone that long, but she just wasn't happy with either one of them. It didn't hurt her. It was difficult for them because she was unhappy. But it wasn't the end of the world.
Right.
And starting that process, she got better. She learned how to get along with the other people in her life, not just mom and dad.
Right.
And that afforded us time to go do something, grab a Coke, sit and talk, have FaceTime together that was adult talk. Because, when you have a baby, you end up talking about baby things constantly.
All the time.
And so you just need time to
Right.
talk about other things. Maybe we went to dinner and then we came, we were sure to come back in time for that child. And they could always call us or get a hold of us if they needed to. But take the time to go away.
Yeah.
And start really young,
Yeah.
because then they get used to that.
Yeah.
They get used to that. Now, we wanted to work them up to the point where we were able to take a weekend away, because Brian and I have always put a priority on our time together as a couple.
Absolutely.
And so we don't want our children to hinder that, because if we aren't right, then the rest of the family isn't going to be right. We need time apart. We need time to go away together. And we don't do it every weekend, but we need to have availability to do that. And so the children had to learn early to stay with grandma, to stay with someone else in the family, just whoever you trust. Maybe you don't have family really close by, so maybe you have a close friend who's willing to do that.
We have a lot of adopted aunts.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We do. So we always started young. It's really good for your children too, because they learn to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to be with mom in order to eat or in order to sleep or in
Right.
order to play with dad, they don't have to be with him. They can play with other people, and so they learn.
Yeah.
They learn to be flexible. They learn to be independent,
Yep.
which is another good thing. That you're going to work from their very beginning all the way up through their teenage years to build independence in them,
Yep.
so that they learn to do things for themselves.
Yep.
They learn to entertain themselves when they're little,
Right.
to play games and with toys, and they don't need you there constantly. They need you. Don't worry, they do need you,
Right.
but they just don't need you constantly. It helps when you start leaving them with others. It helps them to build independence.
Yeah, and don't feel guilty about getting some adult time
Right.
away from your children,
Yeah.
some away time. Let me tell you a real quick story. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. I'm the third of 6 children, and we lived in Central Virginia for a number of years when I was growing up. Loved that place, but whole nother story. And I remember one of the first times we're down there, we're in a different state around people we don't know. And it was, at the time, though, it was not all 6 of us. There was 4 or 5 of us at the time, and mom and dad were going to a function that dad was required to go to for his work, and they got us a babysitter. Some girl, can't even tell you her name, don't remember it, that we did not know, and we threw what my dad would call a hobo conniption fit.
Yeah.
We yelled and cried and screamed, "Oh, don't leave, don't leave!" Ah! We just threw a fit. And mom and dad looked at us, and my dad was tough. Mom was ready to cave. Dad's like, "Nope, we're going." And he looked at the babysitter and said, "I'm sorry, but we've got to leave."
Yeah.
And they left. They weren't gone 5 minutes when we're all like, "Well, that didn't work," and went about our lives like it was normal.
Yeah.
Not that we were manipulating our parents is what we were doing.
Yes.
And dad was smart enough to see through it. Now here's what's funny. Mom was so upset that dad circled back about 10 minutes
Right.
later, and they kind of snuck in through the side door and then saw none of us were screaming, yelling, and mom was kind of disappointed because we didn't need her, and they went on to the function at that
Yeah.
point. So don't let your kids manipulate you.
Right.
Because if they can manipulate you at a young age, and they'll try,
Right.
I guarantee you they will try, then you will lose this.
Yes.
And you need this as much as you need your relationship with your children. Remember that the goal is for them to leave and you not to.
Right.
You remember that. We talked about that in another course.
Yes.
We want the children to grow up and leave. Leave. You can come visit, but leave.
But this stays together.
But I don't want to leave Leslie,
Yeah.
and she doesn't want to leave me. We don't want you to leave your partner in life. We want you to grow old together and enjoy each other.
Yes.
And so, all that said, it was we really emphasized more about the kids than we did the adult in that little section. But the adult time is actually training your children how to be adults down the road, and it's really helping you stay adult.
Right. Yeah.
And purpose in your heart and purpose in your mind when you go out, because it's so easy when you go out for dinner. Go out and get a soda or go for a walk or whatever it is that you're doing for your adult alone together time.
Right.
Whatever it is, it's real easy to spend the entire time doing nothing but talking about that little one, because dagnabbit, they're just so cute.
Yeah.
And they're just so fun, and they're much cuter when you're not near them when they're yelling, or when they're sleeping, as they say.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about each other and continue to build your dreams,
Yes.
your goals, your
Yes.
aspirations together as a couple. And even in that conversation, it may be time you may want multiple children. Some people just want to have one and raise them all the way. Some want to have a small armload of them and raise a bunch of kids. We have 5.
Yeah.
And so in that conversation, when do you think it's time to start having another child, and having that conversation? But that's all adult alone time.
Yes.
So there's intimacy, there's friendship, there's partnership.
Throw a little romance in there. Romance is good.
What's that? No.
When you're first having kids, sometimes you wonder what's that, but
You do.
But throw a little romance in there.
You
It's
do.
good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's okay to flirt and have some fun.
Yeah.
And do all that, but we want you to learn to partner together in your parenting.
Yes.
Pip, pip, rot, rot, all that stuff. We want you to do that. Anything to add before we close down on this particular unit?
No, I just think that you need to understand how important it is to actually get time away. It sounds like we're talking about something other than parenting, but your parenting will be better if you take time to be away from the children and be with your spouse,
Yeah.
you can be more in tune with each other. And then when you go back to being, mom and dad,
Yeah.
you will be able to institute some of the things that you've talked about, or maybe that you just have a fresh outlook because you took time away.
Yeah.
You'll be refreshed, so it's easier to deal with children.
Yeah. It's good.
It's just really important. It's
Yeah.
really important for your relationship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, a real trendy thing in the last probably 10 years has come up in business is work-life relationship. How you balance work and life, and so a lot of companies have ways for people to balance their life and go for a walk or go to their own gym that they have at work, ironically, and all these things that they do. So it's a parenting and relationship balance is what we're talking about. You're balancing your relationship as a couple and your relationship as parents.
Yeah.
And so there's a balance in there, and you have to find that equilibrium.
Yes.
You have to find that place for yourself that works for you, that that this is where we're comfortable at, and tweak it as you move forward.
Right.
It's okay if you need a little more alone time, take it. If you need a little bit more time because maybe you have a child that's dealing with some health issues, so it's going to take a little bit more less adult alone time and more attention until you get them better.
Right.
Perfectly okay. You find that place of balance, and then in that process, keep encouraging each other, be a team, and work together for an end goal, which is raising that child to adulthood.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're glad you're here. We will talk to you in the next unit in this particular course, and we'll have fun with it again. Hope you had a great time. Talk to you soon. All right, bye.